Okay, welcome to session number 1 with me. I'm Joshua, and you are?
I am Charlton Mepomie.
Welcome, Charlton. It's a pleasure to have you here. I just have a couple of things that I'd like to speak to you about. We're going to be talking a little bit about careers and just some benefits of your career, communication. In session 1, we're going to go on for 6 sessions total, and we'll see how things go and see if we can assist you in learning more about yourself and more about your career. Are you happy with that?
I'm more than happy with that.
100%. Okay, so what's one thing that you can tell me about communication skills?
One thing that I can tell you about communication skills is that I think it's very important because the way you communicate ultimately depends on whether someone will receive or understand the message that you are trying to get across. So yeah, having good communication skills really makes the difference in getting your message across in the right way, and I think that's probably most important.
Yeah, and with regards to communication, which communication form do you feel you best at? So verbal, or using gestures, or how would you say?
I'd say I'm a pretty big gesture user. You may not see that today, but yeah, I think majority of the time when I'm explaining something, I'm probably making use of a lot of gestures.
A lot of hand gestures, a lot of
facial, yeah.
Okay, 100%. And with regards to verbal gestures, how do you feel you do with verbal gestures?
What would be an example of a verbal gesture?
Basically, so it's the way you're speaking to somebody instead of talking in a certain tone to somebody. So it'll be your tone, your tempo, anything to do with the loudness of your voice as well as the way you're communicating. So like the way we're just having a normal conversation, or if I'm going to shout at you, that's different ways of verbal communication.
Different verbal gestures.
Yeah, so
so you asked, so the question again
is what verbal gestures do you feel you have locked down, and which ones do you think you can improve on?
Okay, I think I'll start with the ones I can improve on. I think I can definitely, even when I'm at work explaining something to a customer, I could probably slow down a little bit. Speak a bit more clearer, because I think because I understand what I'm saying so well, I say it very quickly, but then I don't sometimes take the time to slow down to make sure that the customer also understands it. I think the verbal gestures that I'm good at are articulation, making sure that my tone of voice is just loud enough for people to be able to hear me and hear what I'm saying.
So an appropriate tone of voice.
Appropriate tone of voice, yeah.
When you say making things clearer for people, is that a situational thing? Because some people might not understand, and some people have a very good expectation of what you're going to say, or realistically they know what they're talking about, but you basically that guiding point to make sure that they are on the right spot. So when you say clearer, is it clearer to a broad majority, or is it just in general?
I think it may be because I'm currently working as a brand coach for a sports brand. I think it's more situational. I think it depends. If the runner is very informed, especially when it comes to the footwear that he uses or she uses to run, then I don't necessarily feel the need to slow down or to communicate in a bit of a clearer way. But when it's a runner that may be new, I feel like in those situations I can slow it down a bit, because the person's also probably trying to just assess what it is that they need whilst listening to me, thinking about their budget, whatever it may be. Whereas someone coming in a bit more prepared won't need me to be a bit more, clear about it.
That's 100%. So each person, you make your own adjustments to the situation. 100%. What are some of the adjustments that you make? Like, for example, if I were to come in, I've got no knowledge of any of the products or anything, how would you convince me to take your product?
Okay, so when it's someone completely new to running, I like to ask a lot of questions first to understand what it is the person is trying to do, what it is they like doing, what it is they don't like doing, how often it is that they do what they're doing or running, for example. And in that way I can also, it makes it easier for me to recommend the correct product for what it is that they'll be using it for.
100%. Do you think of yourself as an assertive person?
If you could just give me the definition of assertive, because I might have it a bit backwards. Is assertive when not necessarily rude, but
you can direct, put your points across, direct. Yes.
I do. I think sometimes I could come across as a little too assertive. But yeah, I do think of myself as an assertive person.
Do you think that helps you in your job, or do you think sometimes it does have negative implications?
I think it does have negative implications. I think I could be a little bit less assertive, especially when I'm convinced that this is the shoe for that person, but they're not as convinced, whether it be because of colorway or whatever the case may be. I think I could just lower my assertiveness a little bit, just to give them a bit more room to make the decision in a bit more of a comfortable, you know.
Okay, 100%. I completely understand. Then with regards to presentation, like in terms of when you have your customer, do you have a set routine that you follow, or do you just wing it sometimes?
Like I said before, it depends on the customer, so I like to make adjustments depending on the customer. But yes, there are a couple, like the questions that I ask are rather specific. The same questions that I ask each customer would be, how often do you run? How far do you run at a time? So those kind of questions would be standard amongst every customer. But I do make some adjustments depending on the person.
Okay, sure thing. And your presentation, when you coming across to somebody, do you feel there's anything you need to work on personally based on some experiences you've had?
No, I actually don't think I've had too many negative experiences with the way that I present myself to someone. Don't think I've had too many negative experiences.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
With regards to
We all know you get very assertive customers that are never wrong, and you know the saying, the customer's always right.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the customer is always right?
I don't believe the customer is always right, but I do believe that there's a certain level of, how can I say, leeway that we should give a customer, especially in the service industry, because we deal with different people every day. And I believe that we can't deal with everyone in the same way. Sometimes you might have someone that comes in, they've had a terrible day, and they really just want to get done what they need to do in the store. And they may come across as a rather rude person, maybe. But yeah, I like to just overlook it, because at the end of the day, everyone is different. The way that they deal with things are different. And I don't like to necessarily change the way that I am towards that customer just because of the way they are. I think it's a lot more professional to stay professional.
Okay, sure thing. And when customers are in that sort of mood where they don't want to be told no, how do you tell them no, and what things do you think you can work on in order to basically tell them, sorry, you are currently wrong, but like, because you don't want to tell them straight they're wrong.
Yeah, of course. Saying no, I think, is probably something, although I'm assertive, saying no to a customer is a little bit difficult sometimes, especially with what you just mentioned now. Some people could be very assertive themselves.
Yeah.
So I think what I could maybe work on is, just the way that I explain why that person is wrong. I could work on that, because I sometimes find myself, instead of explaining why that person's wrong, I almost back away from the person.
Okay.
I listen more than talk, and then eventually try and drift away instead of addressing the fact that the person's wrong, almost to escape the situation. I think it'd probably be better if I tried to address it in a bit more of a professional way.
Okay, so would you say there's a sort of etiquette that you need to follow when it comes to these sort of things, like in the workplace, the way you communicate in the workplace with customers, with your team, or is there just a general vibe that you have to just follow?
No, I definitely believe that there's an etiquette that should be followed, because in the workplace you want structure, and also if you and your colleagues have etiquette and structure, your customers will come in, they'll recognize that, and you would have much better experiences with your customers compared to a place that has no etiquette, no structure. Everyone's going crazy, making a lot of noise. Customers come in, they'll feel more irritated. So I think etiquette is very important
Very true,
for myself.
I also seem to agree with that statement of etiquette, and you mentioned etiquette a lot there in your wording, or in your discussion. What do you understand by the word etiquette?
A respective way of doing something, whether that be, like, I understand internet etiquette or email etiquette would be not using capital letters. It's just a way of being more respectful to the person that you're dealing with in each situation that applies to.
Yeah, 100%. That's almost exactly how I actually describe the word myself.
Awesome.
Then with regards to your job, do you work individually or do you guys work as a team?
So just to give you a bit more of an understanding of what I do. So I would go into a store that sells Adidas product, so whether that be a Total Sport or a Sportsman's Warehouse or even Adidas own retail stores. But I would go in there by myself, although I would work together with a team that's already working in that store or that belongs to that store. So from a personal capacity, I don't belong to the stores that I work in, but I do need to have teamwork in order for me to service the customers as best as I can, because I'm not familiar with each and everything in each and every store. So teamwork is very important in my job.
Do you feel that the other people, because like you say, you're not set in a specific store, do you feel that the people in the store do use teamwork to help you to better know your product, to assist you with the way they do things, or do you feel like you're basically on your own in each situation, in each different store?
I think it depends on the store. There are some stores where I have some negative experiences. Maybe people aren't too keen to help me because they feel I should know how to do it myself. Maybe a bit less understanding, but most of the time I engage with very helpful teammates. An example would be if there's a new ASICS shoe that I won't maybe know all of the technology about, they would be more than willing to help me assist the customer if I'm in a situation I'm having to assist the customer with a different brand to the one that I'm employed by.
Okay, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. Then one thing that's very important, which I do sales myself, so I know a lot about confidence. When you're confident, you can almost sell whatever you want. Do you 100%. Believe this is the way that things are, or do you believe that it's more product knowledge over confidence or experience over confidence?
I think in some situations, confidence is probably more important than product knowledge, because you may know that something will work for a customer, but you may not fully understand how it will work or fully be able to explain how it will work.
Okay.
But if you show that you are confident in the fact that this is the right product for the customer, then the customer will feel that confidence and they will feel more assertive in the purchase that they're making.
Okay, and because you mentioned earlier that you come in by yourself and then do with a team, do you feel you have any leadership value into a situation like that?
I don't think my role demands much leadership from myself, just because the only thing that requires teamwork when it comes to myself and the in-store staff would be in the handling of the product, if someone needs to make a call. So yeah, I don't think, there's not too many teamwork touch points outside of helping the customer.
Okay, 100%.
Put it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And with your job, do you feel, because obviously you don't have to take as much of a leadership role, do you feel that you would be able to take on, if you were offered something with the same sort of line of work but with more responsibilities as a leader in the situation or in the group?
I do think so. Before I took on this role, I actually worked as a permanent sales associate for the Adidas store in Canal Walk, and in that role I was expected to act in a leadership position, opening the store, closing the store, cashing up the store. So I do have some experience in a leadership role, and therefore I think I would be quite comfortable taking up a leadership role, yes.
Okay, so you've had the experience in a leadership role. Discuss basically how that was like for you. Did you just get it based on skills that you had, or working over time and then showing off your leadership skills?
Yes, I think it was the latter. It was more over time showing that I had a way of getting people to work together to get certain things done. And I think that's what allowed me to act in that leadership role. Was there any other part of that question that I didn't answer?
No, that's 100% fine. Awesome. And then, like we're having now, it's almost like as if we are doing an interview, but this is just me discussing with you. I mean, I'm going for life coaching, so this is just to help you better understand yourself.
Yeah.
And with regards to interviews, however, do you feel that you prep well for interviews? Do you feel that interviews are something that you can just go in and do without prep, or how do you feel about interviews in general?
I actually think that I would enjoy an interview more if I didn't have time to prepare for it, because I think giving me time to prepare means that I'm probably going to try and say the correct things. Okay. Whereas if I'm in a situation or an impromptu interview, I'll probably be a lot more honest about my answers than if I was given time to prepare. So I would enjoy an impromptu interview a lot more.
Okay, and based on, you said you've worked at other places before. with your interviews for those, did you have to prepare for them, or how did you find those interviews went for yourself?
Okay, so when we're talking about interviews now, we're talking about within
For
job capacity.
job sort of interviews, or
Okay, sorry. Then I would like to change my previous answer. For a job interview, I think preparation is very important. I think it's very important that we do a little bit of research about the company that we are applying to work at.
okay,
Because I think just as much as it's important for the employer to ask the employee questions, it's also important for the employee to ask the employer questions. You know,
yeah.
things like what is the growth within the company for someone starting at my level? You know, things like that. Things that will just help build yourself through the company. I think it's important.
That makes 100% sense.
With the next question now, I think.
So now we're going to be moving on a bit to talking about a career. What do you understand by what a career is?
My understanding of a career is basically a job that someone will be doing for majority of their life, something that they are passionate about, maybe even something that they studied for. But yeah, I believe a career is the work that someone will be doing for majority of their life, and definitely something that they should be interested in.
Yeah, so based on your definition, there is a difference between a career and a job.
Okay.
Yeah, so a job would just be an everyday thing, whereas a career is something that you do for most of your life, like you explained. That's exactly how I would have also put it. And when it comes to careers, do you think there's a lot of planning involved with the career?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm sure there's some people that almost fall into their career, maybe even make their hobby their career, which maybe doesn't even require a lot of planning. But I think for the most part, yeah, I mean, for the career that I'm wanting to go into, requires planning, yeah, for sure.
And what career would that be?
So currently I'm a second year marketing student. So I would love to go into the business world, more specifically the marketing field. And because of how broad marketing is, and also the marketing for a company would depend on the company itself. It's not the same for every company. And I really love that. So yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, your unique company gets each different thing. So would you say that would be the reason why? It's because of the uniqueness of each individual company?
100%. The excitement of, if possibly, and I wouldn't like to jump from company to company within my career. But if I do find that I'm not feeling challenged by what I'm doing in one company, there's an excitement of my work being completely different for the next.
Okay, 100%. And how do you think you're going to achieve the goal of becoming a marketing manager or director or just marketing assistant? Or
I think staying informed is probably the best kind of planning that I could do. So staying informed with where digital marketing is going, what customers like, what they spend majority of their money on, where they spend most of their time. You know, understanding the consumer and understanding the industry, I would say, is the best planning I could do for becoming, like you said, a marketing director or manager. Yeah.
So with regards to what you said there now is, you said you're going to be needing to get like what the in trends are, what people like. How? Just give me like a couple of ways that you feel that you can do these type of things, like monitoring social media, for example, would be something. Just a few other things that you would try yourself.
Okay. So an example would be like for a project I did recently. We had to do so what Google has is something called a keyword search. So you within the keyword search, you'll type in a certain word, and it'll show you within your country, splitting it by province, how many people within that province search this word on the internet. So that helps get an understanding of what it is people are searching, and within your business, it would be important to use specific keywords on your online store or your social media that will draw people, or basically that will channel people to your business when searching those keywords. But that's just one example. That's the beautiful thing about marketing. I mean, I could watch YouTube videos on different things that will help me understand consumers better, you know? Or even just speaking to customers within my line of work currently helps me understand that better. So I think, yeah, like I said, the ability for me to do these different plannings or whatever is quite flexible, I would say.
Yeah, so one thing that I like that you said there is something that we spoke about earlier, speaking to people. So bringing communication again. So
100%, yeah.
that's really awesome because we spoke about it earlier and it comes up again. That's what I love about these sort of sessions. We with the clients, we talk, and then you go back onto something and then they'll speak about it later. And it's really awesome to know that they're actually paying attention, that I'm paying attention.
100%.
And just to get back onto your studies, what made you decide to go study marketing other than just wanting to become a marketing director or manager?
So funny enough, I actually wanted to go to the Navy first, and this was a decision that I wanted to, or made in grade 11. And my girlfriend at the time, her mother had tried to speak me out of going to the Navy, just because of some beliefs that she had about working in the Defense Force, and she herself was a police officer before. And then it really gravitated to me. So I kind of got to a place where I needed to decide what else I would do. And my sister is currently working for a company called The Stull. They do the alcohol distribution within the country.
Oh, wow.
And she was telling me about the marketers that worked for her company and how she sees similarities in my personality to theirs, and that she thinks that I would make a good marketer. And then I did some research about marketing, and I saw how different it is and how exciting it may be depending on the company you're working for. And yeah, it really gravitated to me. So that's how I made the decision to study marketing.
Okay, one thing that I love that you did there is you actually got my next question in there. So I was going to ask you if you maybe think that marketing is the wrong field for you, but you spoke about wanting to go to the Navy. Do you feel, or do you regret that decision of maybe not going and pursuing that first, or do you think you made the right idea by going into this marketing?
I think that's a very good question, because it's something that I was thinking about not too long ago, last week actually. I think there's a level of missing out when you don't chase your very first dream.
Okay.
So there's a part of me that does regret it for sure, because there are reasons why I wanted to do it in the first place.
Okay.
But I think the smarter decision for myself and where I'd like to see myself in the future would be to enter the business world over the Defense Force. You know?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Just a question with regards to your jobs and stuff. Is marketing something that's interested you just after you've decided to search it, or is it something that you knew a little bit about, had a little bit of an interest in it, and then pursued it afterwards, or?
No, I actually had absolutely no idea what marketing was before I'd looked into it.
So it doesn't really correlate with what your normal interests are in everyday life?
No, I wouldn't say it correlates with what my normal interests are, but the interesting thing with that is the job that I decided to take, marketing that company, what it is that company stands for, or what it is that company does. For example, if I was an avid runner, being a marketer for Adidas would be that, you know, would be me acting within my interests. Within my
very
career.
much so,
Yeah.
very much so. And you said that you researched about marketing before, after your sister, you mentioned, told you about it. What sort of research did you do? Did you just search in like marketing, what it is, and just get some reviews on it, or how did you go about the research of marketing?
So funny thing, I mean, obviously the first thing I did was going to Google and type in the word marketing. And you can believe that I didn't really get much information from that, because it just gave me definitions. But the more I understood what marketing was, the more I could apply it to jobs that I imagined myself in, you know?
Yeah.
And when I could picture myself in certain marketing jobs for different companies, I started to gravitate towards it more, and that's what really drew me towards it. So it was the understanding of what marketing was that helped me make the decision. Yeah.
And based on where you are now in terms of being in marketing environment for already 2 years with the studies and something, is it something that you now see yourself doing and because you want to do it, or because you're already so far along that you're not going to stop? Is it something that you chose because you have to?
I think having a better understanding by my second year of what my job is going to entail, I think choosing the right company is going to be most important. Because although there's a lot of fun when it comes to marketing, meeting your clients, if you play golf and your client plays golf, having your business meetings on the golf course is a possibility. And marketing also entails business to business selling. So there's a bit of sales involved there as well. So if you could just repeat the question.
So, did you choose to do this out of the fact that you're already so far in it, or did you do it because it's actually something that you've wanted to do?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So because of how long I've been doing it now, 2 years, I've understood the things that I like about marketing as well as the things that I don't like about marketing. So I think with that said, I'm still doing it. I'm still going to pursue this.
Okay.
But what really depends on whether I'll enjoy it or not is the company that I work for.
Yeah.
So if I'm passionate about what the company is and what it stands for, then I think I will still enjoy marketing. But if I'm not passionate about it, I think the work that I don't enjoy within the marketing field will get to me more within that regard.
That makes perfect sense, yes. So with regards to your marketing, do you have short-term goals, long-term goals, medium-term goals for achieving, becoming a marketing manager or something, or do you just take every day as it comes?
So one of the most recent goals that I set were, so there's a marketing society in our university that was recently started back up, if I could put it that way, at the beginning of this year. It has been a bit slow because of COVID, but they have made their selections for different positions within this marketing society. And I actually got the position of Secretary General, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this was one of my goals that I set, because the benefits of being a part of the society is they assist in finding internships within your third year.
Oh, that's really awesome.
So that was one of the goals that I set in order to get into this. The next goal would be to just get the internship and act within it as best as I can. And I think the final goal would be, if the company that I'm doing the internship at is one that I'm passionate about, my final goal would be to work for that company after my internship.
So you've got short, medium, and long-term goals. I like to see that. When you set your goals, did you use the SMART acronym? If you know what the SMART acronym is.
Not familiar with the SMART acronym.
Okay, so the SMART acronym is actually something that comes very in line with goals. So SMART, each letter will actually apply to something. So your S for SMART would be specific.
Okay.
M would be measurable. A is achievable.
Oh, achievable. Yeah.
R is realistic, and T is timely.
100%.
So,
yeah.
do you set your goals based on this acronym, or without even knowing it, or do you actually think about these things before setting your goals?
I think without even knowing it, I do apply this acronym to my goal setting. But I think if there's one that I focus on the most, that's achievable.
Yeah.
I don't like to set goals that aren't achievable, because it disappoints me more when I can't reach them.
Yeah.
So if there's any acronym I focus on more than any other, it's whether the goal is achievable or not.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Do you take note of your goals, like in terms of you've set out this and you're very specific in what you want to do, and then you take note, like let's say for example you want to be done with X by the 3rd of December or Y by the 5th of January. Do you take note of dates and stuff with regards to that?
Honestly, no, actually I don't. I do spend a lot of time in my thoughts when it comes to goal setting. So I think about different things, what it is that I like, what it is that I'm passionate about, how I will be able to achieve that. And I kind of keep track of it in that state, in the place where I sit down by myself and I think about these things. That's the kind of atmosphere that I'm setting these goals and assessing them. I don't necessarily write them down and get back to them.
Yeah, so it's more a mind thing than a physical writing or something.
100%, yeah.
Do you feel there's anything that is obstructing you from achieving your goals?
I think currently the state of the world is affecting my goals.
Okay.
With COVID-19, it's really affected my academic year this year. Not all very positive. So yeah, I do think that there are some stuff that are hindering how quickly I could achieve my goals.
Okay.
But that's not going to put me down from continuing to chase them. Yeah.
Sure. Do you feel that procrastination is one of those things that come into play?
Major.
Yeah, we are all guilty of procrastination, believe you me. Even I myself find myself guilty of procrastination, so I understand where you come from. But we both say we know we procrastinate, but do you know what procrastination actually is?
Setting out or delaying the doing of a task that needs to be done now.
Exactly. Using alternative using your time
Distractions.
for distractions rather than what you need to do. Okay, so you are quite clued up on procrastination and your job. And do you feel so far that we've had quite a good session together?
I think we've had a valuable session. I think that I've also, in answering these questions, I've also been able to revisit certain things about myself that I thought about. And that I can now, revisiting them now, I can assess how far I've come in terms of my growth within my studies, in terms of my growth within my career, or not my career, but the job that I'm currently doing. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, awesome. That's always good to hear. So I've just got a little bit of homework that I'd like you to do. So all I want you to do for me is we're going to be working a little bit on communication skills that we spoke about earlier. Is just to go to 10 people that you've never met before.
Okay.
Have a quick word with them. And then just jot down a few points from your little conversation with them.
Okay.
We can then go over it in the next session, see how that goes, and you can tell me what things that you found were the most easy to speak about, what things you struggle to speak about with them.
Okay. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, that's all I'd like you to do for the next session.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.